Hey everybody, this is Kelsey from the Arcane Library, and I am here today to walk you through one of my 4 newest adventures. So I'm releasing 4 horror one-shots in a bundle called the Bundle of Horror 2, and I'm going to walk you through the first one, which is for 5th level characters, and it is called the Snow Stalkers. Okay, so to start off, this adventure is a snowy adventure, and it's inspired a little bit by the fact that we have some snowy adventures coming out right now in the D&D world. So I wanted to write something that could fit in with that vibe a little bit. And in this one in particular, you're gonna see lots of snowy creatures, and I have 2 new creatures in this one actually. So let me give you the background on this one and the synopsis. To start off with, this adventure takes place in any snowy mountain pass or near any particular mountain that has blizzard-like conditions possible. Because at the start of the adventure, there is a blizzard brewing over the mountain range. And the characters are in the area, and they are contacted by a halfling merchant named Nimbragos. And what's going on here is that there is a group of explorers called the Red Drakes, and Nim, the halfling merchant, had hired them to take a special order through this mountain pass called Frostfall Pass. And he wanted them to take it to a sea captain who was awaiting the cargo on the other side of the pass to take this special order on a shipment. And it's been 2 days, and the Red Drakes have not arrived as expected, and so people are starting to get worried. And Nim is also worrying that with the pending blizzard, that if something happened to the Red Drakes, that not only are they going to be lost, but the special order he sent with them as well. And now I purposefully left the special order ambiguous because I want you to be able to fit it to whatever might work for your game. You know, whether it's a person or an item or a prisoner, a secret, I mean something, really anything that is tangible that could be of value and transported by a group. So that's how we start off the adventure. Now, what's really going on here, and this is not evident to the players at the beginning, but there is a deranged alchemist named Karina who has a lab up in Frostfall Pass. And she is obsessed with engineering a perfect specimen snow creature. So she's been conducting hideous experiments on the creatures native to that area, and the PCs are going to start to see signs of this as they go through this mission. But what's happened is she has abducted the Red Drakes, and she's doing some experiments on them. And so the players are going to find that out as the adventure goes on. So we begin with this very first section here, A Cold Wind Blows. And this is where the characters are going to get the adventure hooks. We always have the 3 appeals to things that players generally find pretty cool, which is reward, or heroism, or discovery. So that's giving people hopefully a concrete reason to get invested in the adventure, no matter what style of player they tend to be. So Nimbragos equips the characters and sends them off towards Frostfall Pass, warning them that there's a blizzard coming by nightfall the next day. So there's some time pressure right from the start. And time pressure is always cool in an adventure. It's a way to sort of push the characters forward. It's a way to prevent them from taking a long rest after every single encounter. So that's the goal. And we move on to the Into the Storm section. And now up here I talk about in a sidebar the actual consequences of the blizzard if it were to happen. It has deadly and damaging consequences. So you can feel free to share that with the players up front if you want, because it's going to just spur them forward a bit more. You know, they're going to want to complete this mission before the blizzard strikes, knowing how deadly it might be. I think sometimes weather in this game is not pitched as deadly enough, and weather is in fact one of the most dangerous things that you can actually encounter out in the wilderness. So this blizzard has the potential to kill the players if they get stuck in it. So then we're going to start to move into the actual encounters within this adventure. So the very first encounter is going to happen on this totally cool map, and you get all of these maps with these adventures sized and notated for use on virtual tabletops, especially Roll20. They're all able to be used with the free version of Roll20. They're all sized in the correct way. Because we all know that it's tough to play in person right now. I'm filming this in October of 2020, and the way the world is right now, almost none of us are playing in person. So we want to make it super easy for you to use this online. So you are going to have the first encounter at this Icy River. And what's going to happen here is the characters are going to enter, and they can actually enter from either side. It truly doesn't matter if you want them coming from the left or the right. They just have to get across the map. And there is an owlbear in hiding who has been blinded. Its eyes have been plucked out. And why that has happened is not really clear to the players at first, but this is a way to start to set the spooky mood and to have something unusual and sort of horrifying start to bring in the horror elements. And I've talked about this before, but horror doesn't necessarily come from spooks and frights. It comes from suspense and not knowing why something is strange and not knowing why something weird or bad has seemed to happen. So this adventure in particular tries to build on that feeling of the characters knowing something bad is going on, but not understanding what it is until close to the very end. And so, in this first encounter, they're going to have to try to get across this river while being pelted by snow apes who are throwing things at them from around the perimeter, and who are trying to provoke this blind owlbear into attacking the characters. And savvy characters will actually be able to potentially calm this owlbear using non-combat techniques, but you can also just straight up fight this owlbear, and that would be a pretty interesting combat. So then, moving on from that, once the characters get through that area, hopefully they don't fall into the river and potentially get swept over this small waterfall. The characters will move on as they continue up towards Frostfall Pass. There's a section called Icy Jaws. This is where they're going to start to see Karina's specific influence over this area, this mountain pass, because she's set a trap here. And her purpose in doing this is to catch wildlife that she can experiment on. But it's totally plausible for the characters to walk into one of these traps as well. And so she has set up a hanging piece of meat, and she's wrapped one of the red drake's cloaks around it to try to draw attention to it, potentially drawing predators to it, but probably also drawing the characters to it since they're trying to find the red drakes. And then just beneath that hanging grotesque situation is a huge bear trap. So characters who get too close without being careful might get snapped up by that bear trap, take some damage, and the sound of the trap activating might alert some enemies later on that the characters are nearby. So there's some treasure to find there if they dig around in the snow, and hopefully they can avoid getting snapped up in that bear trap. So then as the adventure progresses, the characters eventually reach Frostfall Pass, and in Frostfall Pass, they're going to start to find some real creepy stuff. So the first thing they find is the body of one of the red drakes. Outside the tent that they were in, he has wounds that are inexplicable. It wouldn't just be wounds given to him by maybe an owlbear or wildlife. He's missing his tongue and teeth only, which is creepy. So what happened here was that Karina attacked the red drakes at a few nights prior, and this rogue who was part of the Red Drake team, Eovis, he was on watch when she came upon his unlucky self, and so she had brought with her one of her really nasty snow mutants, which is a new creature that you'll see in this adventure, and she overcame him and then was able to poison the rest of the red drakes with essence of ether, which knocks you unconscious, and had her huge snow mutant drag those unfortunate souls away. And she came back to harvest some organs from Eovis afterwards because she was impressed by his gift of gab and wanted to incorporate that into one of her monsters, thus why he has no tongue or teeth. So the players could find some treasure in the tent, and then they will find a trail that leads them to Live Bait, the next section here. So the main villain, Karina, is pretty wily, and she's good at capturing and surprise attacking. And so what you'll find here is that Live Bait is the first section of this really cool dungeon portion. And the players are gonna find another NPC there who's been left out as bait to throw people off the trail of Karina, and to make it seem like this room is merely an owlbear cave, when in reality there's a secret door at the back of it that leads to Karina's lab. So there's a trap on the body of Thalia Skelt, the tiefling mage who has been left unconscious in this cave. the players might find it or they might set it off. It's an explosive vial, which is a clue now about Karina, and it's providing some information about who the main villain is. And at the same time, Karina's snow mutant, one of these new monsters, is in the area, and it's becoming aware of the characters. So there's a sidebar here that talks about how the snow mutant will start to stalk the characters as they move through the remainder of the adventure. And I think that as a dungeon master running this, you should absolutely let the characters know that something is stalking them. Each time you make a roll for it, even if the snow mutant doesn't appear at that particular instance, you want to let the characters or the players know that they hear inhuman sounds nearby and they get the sense that something is stalking them, because that is what's going to create suspense for them. If they don't know about it, it's not really going to have the impact of causing suspense. So a little metagamey here, but I would definitely let them know that something is following them. And as they progress further into Karina's lab, they'll have a chance to explore the various rooms in there. Further NPCs, they're going to find another of the red drakes kept alive in some cages. They're going to see some grotesque sort of places where Karina does her experiments. And then finally, the final battle is going to be against Karina in her lab. And you'll see down here, there are these glowing vats where she actually has some of her failed experiments in monstrosity vats, which is our last encounter here. So she keeps them alive and continues to experiment on them, even though they're imperfect specimens, as they're called. So the final battle against Karina takes place in that room, and you're going to have several new creatures. You have the snow mutant, and you're going to have the imperfect specimen that break free of their glass, containers during this final fight. And you have Karina, mad alchemist, who has actions that let her throw explosives or poisoning type little bombs. And then she also has legendary actions which help account for, when you have a solo monster or a monster with only a few minions, a lot of times higher level player characters can just swarm that one monster and really make the fight anticlimactic. So legendary actions help offset that disparity of action economy. So use her legendary actions often and to the greatest effect that you can, and make that last fight super exciting. And then once the players triumph over Karina, hopefully, they will be able to free the remaining red drake who is in her lab about to be fed to the monstrosities, and the characters will hopefully have triumphed. Now, the special order, whatever you decided it is also in the room with Karina. She saw it in the tent of the red drakes and took a particular interest in it, so she took that back to her lab. And so once that is over, the adventure concludes. There's an aftermath section that talks about how to handle future adventure hooks, some of the ramifications of what might have happened, what the characters might do if they decide to ride out the blizzard in the lab, or if they try to make it back before the blizzard. So there may even be further adventure because of that blizzard after the climactic final battle. So that is that. I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough of this adventure, and you can get it for sale by itself on my website, thearcanelibrary.com, or you can get it as a part of the Bundle of Horror 2 at a discount. So you get 4 adventures for the price of 3, essentially, in the Bundle of Horror 2, and I hope you guys will check it out. So thanks again for watching, and happy gaming. Bye!